They say a woman's intuition is never wrong, but sometimes I wished mine had failed me. My name is Catherine. I'm 46 years old, and I've been married to Marcus for 23 years. The evening light filtered through our kitchen window as I sorted through the laundry basket. The house felt hollow despite its spaciousness, too quiet for a home that once buzzed with conversation and laughter. Outside, autumn leaves drifted past the glass, and I could hear the distant hum of our neighbor's television through the thin walls. Marcus had been training again that evening. 6 months ago, it started as twice a week, then 3 times. Now it was almost daily. "I need to get back in shape, Catherine," he'd said, patting his barely noticeable stomach. "I'm not getting any younger." At 48, he was still handsome. Salt and pepper hair, strong shoulders, the kind of confidence that had attracted me in college. But something felt different. The way he rushed to shower immediately after returning home, the new cologne that lingered in his car, the gym bag that he guarded like state secrets, always taking it straight to the bedroom before I could offer to wash his clothes. That evening, curiosity won. I unzipped the black leather bag he'd left by the front door. Inside, workout clothes that didn't smell like sweat, energy bars that looked untouched, and at the bottom, wrapped in a hand towel, a small box of condoms and a bottle of Viagra. My hands trembled as I held the evidence. Not from anger, that would come later. From the crushing weight of confirmation, the kind of pain that starts in your stomach and spreads outward until even your fingertips ache. We hadn't been intimate in 4 months. Marcus claimed stress from work, fatigue from his new exercise routine. I'd accepted his explanations, even felt guilty for wanting more connection. Now I understood why our bedroom had become a place where we merely slept. I carefully rewrapped the items, placed them exactly where I'd found them, and zipped the bag shut. Then I sat at our kitchen table, staring at the ceramic fruit bowl his mother had given us for our 10th anniversary, and began planning. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a detective in my own marriage. The evidence accumulated like drops of water that eventually become a flood. Restaurant receipts from Romano's, our special occasion place, for dinners for 2 on evenings when Marcus claimed to be at the gym. $127.50 for meals I never tasted. His car smelled of perfume that wasn't mine. Something floral and young, nothing like the sophisticated scents I preferred. I found a tissue under the passenger seat with lipstick that was 3 shades brighter than anything in my makeup collection. Strange phone calls that ended abruptly when I entered the room. "Just work stuff," he'd say, but his colleagues didn't usually make him smile the way these mysterious callers did. Credit card statements showing charges at lingerie boutiques, flower shops, and a hotel downtown, the Meridian, on 3 different occasions. $89 for roses I never received. $156 for silk that never touched my skin. $220 for hotel rooms where I never slept. The cruelest detail was how normal everything else remained. Marcus still kissed my forehead in the morning, still asked about my day over dinner, still sat beside me while we watched television. He'd become an expert at living a double life, compartmentalizing his betrayal with surgical precision. But I could compartmentalize too. I purchased a small syringe from the pharmacy, telling the clerk it was for my diabetic cat. I bought the hottest chili peppers I could find at the farmer's market, along with a bottle of pure capsaicin oil from the health food store. At home, while Marcus was at his supposed training session, I carefully extracted the liquid fire and prepared my weapon. The injection process required patience. Each condom had to be pierced in exactly the right spot. Not the tip where it would be obvious, but along the side where the needle mark would be invisible. I added just enough of the chili mixture to coat the interior without altering the condom's appearance. Then I resealed the package with a precision that would have impressed a surgeon. The irony wasn't lost on me. After 23 years of marriage, I'd finally learned to be devious. 2 days later, Marcus announced another training session. "Big workout tonight," he said, kissing my cheek with lips that had probably kissed someone else that afternoon. "Don't wait up." I watched him leave with his gym bag, then settled in to wait. I made tea, read a book, tried to distract myself from imagining what was about to unfold, but anticipation and dread tangled together in my chest like fighting cats. At 9:47 p.m., my phone rang. Marcus's name appeared on the screen. "Catherine." His voice was strained, panicked. There's been an accident. I'm at Mercy General Hospital." "What happened? Are you hurt?" It's hard to explain. Can you come? Please?" The drive to the hospital felt surreal. Part of me worried he was genuinely injured. Part of me knew exactly what had happened and felt a grim satisfaction. But mostly, I felt numb. 23 years of marriage were ending in an emergency room, and I was the one who'd orchestrated it. Mercy General's fluorescent lights made everyone look sickly. The waiting room smelled of disinfectant and desperation. A tired-looking receptionist directed me to room 237. As I approached, I heard a familiar voice from inside. Not Marcus's voice, but one I recognized immediately. My heart stopped. "The burning won't stop," the woman was saying. "We tried ice, we tried milk, nothing helps." I knew that voice. I'd heard it at family dinners, birthday parties, Christmas mornings. It belonged to someone who called me Mom and had called me that for the past 3 years. Jennifer, my son's wife. I pushed open the door. The scene before me was everything I'd imagined and nothing I could have prepared for. Marcus lay on one bed, red-faced and sweating, a wet towel across his lap. Across the room, Jennifer, my daughter-in-law, the mother of my 2 grandchildren, sat on another bed in a hospital gown, tears streaming down her face. They both looked up when I entered. Marcus's expression collapsed into shame. Jennifer's eyes went wide with terror. "Catherine, I can explain," Marcus started. "No," I said calmly, reaching into my purse. "I don't think you can." The divorce papers I'd prepared that afternoon made a crisp sound as I unfolded them. I'd had them ready for 2 weeks, waiting for the right moment. This was it. The silence in the room was deafening. Even the hospital's constant background noise, beeping machines, distant conversations, wheelchair wheels on linoleum seemed to fade away. "Mrs. Williams?" A voice from the doorway. I turned to see Dr. Sarah Chen, my friend from book club, standing in scrubs with a clipboard in her hand. Her eyes moved from Marcus to Jennifer to me, and I watched understanding dawn on her face. "Sarah called me," I said to the room. "She thought I should know my husband was here. She didn't mention you'd brought a friend." Jennifer spoke for the first time since I'd arrived. "Catherine, please, you have to understand." "I understand perfectly." I set the divorce papers on the wheeled table between Marcus's bed and the room's single chair. "I understand that my husband has been lying to me for months. I understand that my daughter-in-law has been betraying not just her marriage, but our entire family. And I understand that you're both here because of choices you made." Marcus tried to sit up straighter. "The burning. Something's wrong with the condoms. They must have been contaminated or—" "Nothing was contaminated," I said quietly. "Everything worked exactly as intended." The words hit them like physical blows. Jennifer gasped. Marcus stared at me with something approaching awe mixed with horror. "You did this," Jennifer whispered. "I protected myself. You two chose to hurt people who loved you. I chose to make sure there were consequences." Dr. Chen cleared her throat. "I'll give you some privacy. The burning should subside in a few hours with the treatment we've given you. You'll both be fine, physically." After she left, I pulled the room's single visitor chair closer to Marcus's bed and sat down. My hands were steady, my voice calm. For the first time in months, I felt completely in control. 23 years, I said to Marcus. I gave you 23 years of fidelity, support, and love. I raised your children, maintained your home, supported your career, and this is how you repay me. Catherine, please, I'm not finished. The sharpness in my voice surprised even me. And you, I turned to Jennifer, called me Mom. You sat at my table every Sunday for 3 years. You let me babysit your children while you were doing this. You hugged me at Christmas while planning to destroy my marriage. Jennifer was sobbing now. I never meant for it to happen. We didn't plan it. You didn't plan it? You've been meeting at the Meridian Hotel for 2 months. You've had dinner at Romano's 6 times. Marcus bought you lingerie from Vivian's boutique. Tell me what part of that wasn't planned." The specific details hit them like slaps. I watched their faces as they realized how much I knew, how long I'd been watching, how carefully I documented their betrayal. "How long have you known?" Marcus asked. "Long enough to make some decisions about my future, decisions that don't include either of you." I reached for the divorce papers and placed them directly in Marcus's hands. "This marriage is over. I've already spoken with an attorney. The house is in my name, my inheritance from my parents. The retirement accounts will be split according to state law. You can keep your gym membership." Marcus looked at the papers as if they were written in a foreign language. "Catherine, we can work through this. Counseling, therapy." "Some things can't be worked through, Marcus. Some betrayals are too complete." I stood up and looked at both of them. "In 15 minutes, I'm going to call Michael and tell him his wife is here. I'll let you decide how much of the truth he needs to know, but he's going to know something. And tomorrow morning, I'm calling a locksmith." Jennifer's sobs became wails. "Please, Catherine, think about the children. Think about the family." "I am thinking about the family. I'm thinking about how you destroyed it." The walk from room 237 to the hospital lobby felt like a mile. Each step echoed in the sterile hallway, the sound mixing with the distant beeping of machines and the soft conversations of night shift nurses. I found a quiet corner in the family waiting area and called my son, Michael. The phone rang 4 times before his sleepy voice answered. "Mom, it's almost 11. Is everything okay?" "Michael, I need you to come to Mercy General Hospital, room 237. "What? Are you hurt? Is Dad—" "We're all fine physically, but there's something you need to see." "Mom, you're scaring me. What's going on?" I closed my eyes. How do you tell your child that their spouse has been unfaithful? How do you explain that their father was the one she chose to betray them with? "Jennifer is here at the hospital. She's here with your father. They were together when they both got hurt." The silence on the other end of the line stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. "Together, how?" His voice was different now, harder. "Together in a way that breaks marriages, Michael. I'm sorry." "I'll be there in 20 minutes. The line went dead. I sat in the plastic hospital chair and watched the late-night drama of the emergency room unfold around me. A teenager with a broken arm sat with his worried parents. An elderly woman complained about chest pains to anyone who would listen. A young couple held hands while they waited for news about their car accident. All these people dealing with genuine emergencies, and here I was, the architect of my own family's destruction. But I felt no regret, only a strange sense of peace. 22 minutes later, Michael burst through the hospital's automatic doors. At 25, he looked like a younger version of his father. Same strong jaw, same intense eyes. But where Marcus had learned to hide his feelings behind practiced smiles, Michael wore his emotions openly. Right now, his face showed confusion, anger, and heartbreak in equal measure. "Where are they?" I led him to room 237. Through the small window in the door, we could see Marcus and Jennifer. They weren't talking anymore, just sitting in their respective beds, staring at different walls. The weight of their situation had settled over them like a blanket. Michael pushed open the door without knocking. "Jen?" His voice was barely a whisper. Jennifer looked up, and the expression on her face when she saw her husband was the most genuine emotion I'd seen from her all evening. Pure, devastating guilt. "Michael, is it true?" He looked back and forth between his wife and his father. "Are you two—" Neither of them answered, but their silence was answer enough. Michael's hands clenched into fists at his sides. "How long?" "Son," Marcus began. "How long?" Michael's voice was louder now, attracting attention from the nurse's station. 4 months, Jennifer whispered. Michael nodded slowly, as if the information was taking time to process. Then he turned to his father. "You son of a bitch." Marcus flinched. Michael, please, let me explain. Explain what? How you've been sleeping with my wife. How you've been lying to Mom. How you've been lying to me. Each question got louder. Mr. Williams, Dr. Chen appeared in the doorway. I need to ask you to keep your voices down. This is a hospital. Sorry, Michael said, not taking his eyes off his father. I'm just trying to understand how my dad became the kind of man who destroys his own family. He turned to Jennifer. And you sat at Mom's table last Sunday. You helped Emma make Mother's Day cards for her grandmother. You looked her in the eye and smiled while you were doing this. Jennifer was crying again, but this time there was no manipulation in it. These were the tears of someone who'd lost everything and was just beginning to understand the magnitude of their choices. Where are the kids? Michael asked. At your mom's, Jennifer managed between sobs. Your mother's watching them tonight. Michael's laugh was bitter. Perfect. So my kids are with the one decent person in this whole mess while their parents are here getting treated for... What exactly? What happened to you two? I stepped forward. That's my fault. All three of them looked at me. I doctored the condoms with chili oil. I've known about their affair for weeks. Tonight was my way of making sure there were consequences. Michael stared at me for a long moment, then started laughing. Not happy laughter, the kind of desperate laughter that comes when the situation is so absurd that humor is the only alternative to screaming. You set them up? I protected myself, and I protected you, though you don't know it yet. How did you protect me? I reached into my purse and pulled out a manila envelope. Private investigator's report, photos, credit card records, hotel receipts, everything you'll need for your divorce attorney. 6 weeks later, I sat in my lawyer's office signing the final divorce papers. Marcus had moved out the day after the hospital incident. He'd tried calling several times, leaving voicemails that ranged from apologetic to angry to desperate. I'd listened to the first few, then blocked his number. The settlement was fair, even generous on my part. I kept the house, my parents' wedding gift to us 23 years ago, and half of our retirement accounts. Marcus kept his pension and his freedom. It seemed like a reasonable trade. Jennifer and Michael's divorce was messier. She'd hired an expensive attorney who tried to argue that her affair was a symptom of postpartum depression and temporary insanity. Michael's lawyer, armed with my investigator's evidence, had little trouble proving that 4 months of deliberate deception hardly qualified as temporary. The custody arrangement gave Michael primary custody of Emma and David, with Jennifer getting weekends and holidays. She'd moved back to her parents' house across town and taken a job at a dental office. I heard through mutual friends that she was in therapy, trying to understand how she'd made such destructive choices. I felt no satisfaction in her downfall, no triumph in Marcus's exile to a downtown apartment. The satisfaction was quieter, more personal. It was the satisfaction of a woman who'd refused to be a victim. All done, my attorney said, sliding the papers across his mahogany desk. You're officially Catherine Williams again. I decided to keep Marcus's name for practical reasons, bank accounts, credit cards, the grandchildren's recognition. But legally, I was free. Outside the law office, autumn had given way to early winter. The trees were bare now, their branches reaching toward a gray December sky. I walked to my car slowly, breathing the cold air deep into my lungs. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. Dinner tonight? Kids want to see Grandma. I smiled and typed back, I'll cook, 6 p.m. Cooking for my son and grandchildren felt different now, not like an obligation or a way to prove my worth, but like a gift I chose to give to people I loved. The distinction was important. At home, I prepared Emma's favorite chicken parmesan and David's beloved garlic bread. The kitchen smelled like family and comfort, but for the first time in months, I didn't feel lonely in it. While the chicken baked, I opened a bottle of wine. Good wine. Not the cheap stuff I used to buy when I thought I didn't deserve better. I poured myself a glass and stood at my kitchen window, looking out at the garden I'd planted last spring. The rose bushes were dormant now, but come spring, they'd bloom again. Some things survived winter. Some things came back stronger after a season of darkness. When Michael arrived with the children, Emma ran straight to me, wrapping her 5-year-old arms around my legs. "Grandma, Daddy said Mommy and Grandpa went away. Are they coming back for Christmas?" I knelt down to her level, looking into eyes that were exactly like her father's. "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes that change everything, sweetheart. But the people who really love you will always be here." "Will you read me a story after dinner?" "I'd love to." During dinner, David at 7 asked harder questions. "Dad says Mommy hurt you. Is that why she can't live with us anymore?" Michael started to intervene, but I held up a hand. These children deserved honesty, age-appropriate but real. "Your mommy made choices that hurt our whole family. Sometimes when people hurt each other really badly, they can't live together anymore. But that doesn't mean she doesn't love you, and it doesn't mean anyone did anything wrong." "Did Grandpa make bad choices too?" "Yes, he did." "Are you sad?" I considered the question seriously. I was very sad, but now I'm more relieved. After dinner, Michael helped me clean dishes while the children played in the living room. "How are you really doing, Mom?" "Better than I expected. Worse than I'd hoped, but okay. I keep thinking I should have seen it, should have known what was happening." "Michael, look at me." I waited until he met my eyes. "This isn't your fault. Your wife and your father made choices that destroyed your family. You were being a loving husband and son. There's no shame in that. Are you angry with me for not protecting you?" The question broke my heart a little. "Oh, sweetheart, you don't protect me. I protect myself. That's what I learned from all this, that I'm stronger than I knew." That night, after Michael and the children left, I ran a hot bath and allowed myself to think about the future. For the first time in 23 years, I could go anywhere, do anything, be anyone I wanted to be. The woman who discovered those condoms 6 weeks ago had been afraid of being alone. The woman sitting in this bathtub was starting to see solitude as freedom. By March, I'd developed new routines, morning walks through the neighborhood where I noticed things I'd missed for years. The way Mrs. Henderson's daffodils came up earlier than everyone else's, the intricate ironwork on the old Victorian houses, the coffee shop that had opened 2 blocks away while I was busy being a wife. I joined a book club at the library, something I'd always wanted to do but never had time for when my evenings belonged to Marcus's schedule. I took a pottery class at the community college. I volunteered at the children's literacy program, reading to kindergartners who thought I was the most fascinating person in the world simply because I could make picture books come alive. The house felt different now, lighter somehow, despite being emptier. I'd redecorated the master bedroom, replacing the heavy burgundy curtains Marcus preferred with white linen panels that let in more light. I'd moved the television out of the bedroom entirely, reclaiming the space for reading and rest. Michael brought the children over every Sunday, and Jennifer picked them up from school on Wednesday afternoons. We'd worked out a civil arrangement that put Emma and David's needs first. Jennifer and I didn't speak much, but when we did, it was cordial. I felt no need to punish her further. Her choices had carried their own consequences. Marcus had tried to reach out several times through mutual friends. He wanted to apologize, to explain, to somehow make things right. I wasn't interested in his explanations or his apologies. Some betrayals were too complete for forgiveness, and I'd moved beyond needing either his remorse or his understanding. One Wednesday in early April, as I was leaving the pottery studio with my hands still slightly stained with clay, I literally bumped into someone outside the coffee shop. "I'm so sorry," I said, looking up at a man about my age with kind eyes and graying hair. I wasn't watching where I was going. "No harm done. Beautiful evening for a walk." He was right. The air was warm but not humid, and the smell of blooming cherry trees mixed with the aroma of coffee from the shop behind us. "Are you the Catherine Williams from the book club?" he asked. "I'm David Martinez. I've been thinking about joining, but I wasn't sure if it was too intimidating for someone who mostly reads military history." I laughed. We just finished arguing about whether Jane Austen was a secret feminist or just a good storyteller. I think you'd fit right in. Would you like to get coffee and tell me more about it? I promise I won't bore you with stories about the Civil War. I hesitated for just a moment. Not because I didn't want to. I found his smile genuinely appealing, but because I was still adjusting to the idea that my time was my own to spend. I'd like that. Over coffee that turned into dinner at a small Italian place down the street, I learned that David was a retired high school principal, recently widowed after 41 years of marriage. His wife had died of cancer 18 months earlier, and he was slowly learning to build a life as a single person. "It's strange," he said, swirling the wine in his glass. "I was married for so long that I'd forgotten who I was as just David, not David and Maria. Sometimes I catch myself setting 2 places at the dinner table or buying her favorite yogurt without thinking." I understood. I'm discovering I like having the whole bed to myself, and I can read until 2 a.m. if I want to without someone complaining about the light. What happened to your marriage, if you don't mind me asking? I'd told the story so many times by now, to lawyers, to therapists, to my book club friends, that I could recite it without emotional pain. My husband had an affair with my daughter-in-law. I caught them, divorced him, and discovered I preferred being alone to being with someone who didn't respect me. David winced. "That's brutal. I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was the best thing that could have happened to me." "How do you figure?" "Because it forced me to find out who I was without him. Turns out I like her quite a lot." We talked until the restaurant began putting chairs on tables around us. David walked me to my car, and we made plans to attend the book club meeting together the following week. Driving home through the quiet streets of my neighborhood, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, anticipation for what tomorrow might bring. In May, a letter arrived from Marcus. Not an email or a text, but an actual handwritten letter on stationery I recognized as the expensive kind he kept in his desk for important correspondence. I almost threw it away without reading it, but curiosity won. "Catherine, I know you don't want to hear from me, and I understand why. What I did was unforgivable, and I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I'm writing because I need to tell you some things I should have said months ago. You were the best wife a man could ask for. You were loyal, generous, intelligent, and beautiful. You supported my dreams, raised our children, and made our house a home. The affair had nothing to do with anything you lacked. It had everything to do with what I lacked: character, integrity, and the wisdom to appreciate what I had. Jennifer means nothing to me. She never did. She was just available and willing, and I was stupid enough to mistake excitement for happiness. I threw away 23 years of marriage for something that wasn't even real. I hear through Michael that you're doing well. I'm glad. You deserve happiness, and you deserve better than I ever gave you. I'm not the same man who betrayed you. I've been going to therapy, trying to understand how I became someone capable of such cruelty. But I know that personal growth doesn't undo damage, and I'm not asking for a second chance. I just want you to know that I know what I lost. I hope someday you can think of our good years without anger. We did have good years, Catherine. 20 of them at least. I hope I didn't destroy those memories for you. Marcus. I read the letter twice, then set it on my kitchen table and made tea. Outside, my rose bushes were in full bloom, their petals spread wide to catch the afternoon sun. The letter was probably genuine. Marcus had always been articulate when he wanted to be, and the tone felt authentic rather than manipulative. But it didn't change anything. Apologies, no matter how eloquent, couldn't undo betrayal. Understanding his motivations didn't heal the wounds he'd caused. I folded the letter and put it in the drawer where I kept important documents. Not because I treasured it, but because it was evidence of closure. Marcus had said what he needed to say, and I'd heard it. Now we could both move forward without unfinished business hanging between us. That evening, David and I went to the community theater's production of Our Town. During the intermission, he asked if I was enjoying the play. It's making me think about time, I said. How we waste so much of it waiting for life to begin, or for other people to make us happy. Are you happy now? The question surprised me with its directness. Yes, I said, and realized it was true. Not the way I expected to be happy at 46, but genuinely happy. What's different? I'm living for myself instead of around someone else. I make decisions based on what I want instead of what's expected, and I've learned the difference between being alone and being lonely. And which are you? Alone. And I like it. David smiled. Good. That makes you much better company than someone who needs other people to feel complete. After the play, we walked through downtown, talking about everything and nothing. David was easy to be with. No hidden agendas, no manipulation, no games. Just a decent man who enjoyed my company and made me laugh. When he walked me to my door, I realized I was attracted to him. Not desperately, not with the all-consuming need that had characterized my relationship with Marcus in the early years, but with the quiet interest of a woman who knew her own worth. Would you like to come in for coffee? I asked. I'd love to, but I think I'll say goodnight instead. I raised an eyebrow. Afraid of my coffee? Afraid of rushing something that might be worth taking slowly. I liked that answer. I liked it very much. September brought my 47th birthday and the 1-year anniversary of discovering Marcus's betrayal. The symmetry wasn't lost on me. Last year's worst day had become this year's celebration of independence. Michael threw me a party in my backyard, inviting my book club friends, my pottery classmates, and some neighbors I'd gotten to know over the past year. David brought flowers, sunflowers because he said they reminded him of my smile, and a first edition of Pride and Prejudice because he'd been listening when I mentioned loving Austen. Emma and David, my grandson, not my David, helped me blow out the candles on the chocolate cake Michael had bought from the bakery downtown. As I made my wish, I realized I didn't need to wish for anything. For the first time in years, I had everything I wanted. After the guests left and Michael had taken the children home, David helped me clean up. We worked quietly, moving around each other in my kitchen with the easy coordination of people who'd spent many evenings together. Good party, he said, drying the last of the wine glasses. I never thought I'd enjoy being the center of attention, but it was fun. You seemed different tonight. Lighter. I considered his observation. A year ago today, I found out my husband was cheating on me. I thought my life was over. And now? Now I think it was just beginning. David set down the dish towel and turned to face me. Catherine, there's something I want to ask you. My heart rate picked up slightly. In the 6 months we'd been seeing each other, David had been unfailingly patient and respectful. We'd shared dinners, movies, long walks, and intense conversations, but he'd never pushed for more than I was ready to give. What is it? I'm falling in love with you. Actually, I think I already have fallen in love with you, and I want to know if there's any possibility that you might feel the same way. The words hung in the air between us. A year ago, if someone had told me I'd be standing in my kitchen listening to a wonderful man declare his love, I'd have thought they were crazy. A year ago, I was still trying to save a marriage that was already dead. David, you don't have to answer now. I just wanted you to know how I feel. I do feel the same way, I said quietly, but I need you to understand something. I love you, but I don't need you. I'm not looking for someone to complete me or save me or fix my life. I'm looking for someone to share the life I've already built. His smile was radiant. That's exactly the kind of love I want. We kissed in my kitchen, surrounded by the evidence of my new life, the pottery I'd made, the books I'd been reading, the flowers from my garden. It tasted like possibility and felt like coming home to myself. Later that night, after David had gone home to his own house, we were taking things slowly, remember? I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine and thought about the strange trajectory of the past year. The woman who'd found those condoms had been devastated, angry, and afraid. She'd felt like a victim of circumstances beyond her control. The woman sitting on this porch was none of those things. She was strong, independent, and genuinely happy. Marcus's betrayal had been a gift, though he'd never know it. It had forced me to find out who Catherine Williams was when she wasn't being Marcus's wife or Michael's mother or anyone else's anything. It turned out she was someone I enjoyed being. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. "Thanks for a great party, Mom. Dad called today." I typed back, "What did he want?" "To know if you were happy. I told him you were the happiest I'd ever seen you." I smiled and put the phone away. Let Marcus wonder what my happiness looked like. Let him imagine what his absence had made possible. I had better things to think about, like the book club meeting on Tuesday where we'd be discussing Eat, Pray, Love, and I'd actually have something meaningful to contribute about finding yourself after loss, like the pottery class on Thursday where I was finally getting the hang of centering clay on the wheel, like David, who loved me not because he needed me, but because he enjoyed who I was when I was most myself. Like my grandchildren, who were learning from my example that adults could be resilient, that bad things could lead to good things, and that sometimes the best revenge was simply living well. As I sat there in the darkness of my backyard, surrounded by the roses I'd planted and tended myself, I realized that Marcus had been wrong about one thing in his letter. We hadn't had 20 good years. We'd had 20 years where I'd made myself smaller to accommodate his needs, where I'd confused duty with love and submission with partnership. This past year had been my first truly good year in decades, and tomorrow would be even better. Epilogue. 2 years later. The wedding was small, just family and close friends gathered in my backyard under the oak tree that had shaded this house for 50 years. Emma scattered rose petals down a makeshift aisle, while David, my grandson, carried the rings on a small velvet pillow, taking his job with the utmost seriousness. I wore a simple cream-colored dress that I'd chosen because I loved it, not because it met anyone else's expectations. David looked handsome in his navy suit, his silver hair catching the late afternoon sunlight that filtered through the leaves above us. Michael walked me down the aisle, not to give me away, but to show his support for my choice to begin again. As he kissed my cheek and took his seat in the front row, I saw tears in his eyes. "You look beautiful, Mom," he whispered. "You look free." The ceremony itself lasted 15 minutes. We'd written our own vows, promising to love each other without losing ourselves, to support each other's independence, and to build something new together without trying to replace what we'd each lost. When the justice of the peace pronounced us husband and wife, David's kiss was gentle and sure. In the small crowd, I saw my book club friends wiping their eyes, my pottery teacher beaming with pride, and Mrs. Henderson from down the street taking pictures with her phone. Notably absent were Marcus and Jennifer. Michael had debated whether to invite his father, but I'd made the decision easy for him. "This day is about moving forward," I told him. "Your father represents the past." The reception was a potluck dinner on long tables set up under string lights we'd hung between the trees. My friend Sarah from book club had made her famous lasagna. David's daughter had driven up from Atlanta with homemade tiramisu. The children ran around the yard with sparklers as the sun set, their laughter mixing with the conversations of adults who'd chosen to celebrate love over fear. Later that evening, after the last guest had gone home and the children had been tucked into the guest room for their sleepover with Grandma and Grandpa David, we sat on the porch swing he'd installed last spring. "Any regrets?" David asked, his arm around my shoulders. "Only that I waited so long to discover who I really was. And who is that?" I thought about the question seriously. Someone who doesn't need to be needed. Someone who can love without losing herself. Someone who knows the difference between being good and being useful. I love all of those someones. Even when I'm stubborn and independent and refuse to let you open jars for me, especially then. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the last of the evening light fade from the sky. In the distance, I could hear the fountain in my garden, the one I'd installed with my divorce settlement money back when I was first learning to spend money on things that made me happy. "What are you thinking about?" David asked. Marcus. David tensed slightly. Even after 2 years of marriage, my first husband remained a sensitive subject. Not the way you think, I said quickly. I was thinking about how grateful I am to him. Grateful? He broke my heart so completely that I had to rebuild it stronger. He destroyed my life so thoroughly that I had to create a better one. He showed me what I didn't want so clearly that I was able to recognize what I did want when I found it. Are you saying I should send him a thank you note? I laughed. Maybe we both should. The truth was, I hadn't thought about Marcus in months. The last I'd heard, he was dating someone new, a woman from his office who was closer to Jennifer's age than mine. I felt no jealousy, no anger, no curiosity about whether this relationship would last longer than his affair had. Marcus belonged to a version of myself that no longer existed. The woman who'd found those condoms 3 years ago had been someone who defined herself through other people's needs. The woman sitting on this porch swing was someone who'd learned to be complete on her own and chose to share that completeness with someone who appreciated it. Do you want to know a secret? I asked David. Always. Sometimes I feel guilty for being this happy, like I should still be angry or bitter or broken. And what do you think when you feel that way? That happiness isn't something you earn by suffering. It's something you choose by deciding you deserve it. David kissed the top of my head. Remind me to tell that to my daughter. She's been stuck in a bad marriage for 5 years because she thinks leaving would be giving up. Maybe she needs to find her own condoms in a gym bag. Catherine Williams Martinez, did you just suggest that my daughter's husband should cheat on her? I suggested that sometimes we need a push to make the changes we're afraid to make on our own. And if the push doesn't come, then we have to push ourselves. As we prepared for bed that night in the master bedroom that I'd redecorated twice, once to erase Marcus and once to welcome David, I caught sight of myself in the mirror. The woman looking back at me was 49 years old with laugh lines around her eyes and silver threads in her brown hair. She looked confident, content, and completely comfortable in her own skin. She looked nothing like the woman who'd been married to Marcus Williams. She looked exactly like the woman David Martinez had fallen in love with. "What are you smiling about?" David asked, emerging from the bathroom in his pajamas. "I was just thinking that revenge really is a dish best served cold." "Oh? And what was your revenge?" "Living well, being happy, refusing to let his betrayal turn me into someone bitter or broken. That's not revenge, Catherine. That's wisdom. Same thing sometimes." That night, as I lay beside my husband in the bed I'd chosen, in the house I'd reclaimed, surrounded by the life I'd built from the ashes of my first marriage, I thought about all the women who might be reading this story. Some of them might be finding their own versions of condoms in gym bags. Some might be discovering credit card charges they didn't make, or phone calls that end when they enter the room. Some might be feeling the slow erosion of respect and intimacy that signals the death of a marriage. To those women, I wanted to say this: you are stronger than you know. You deserve better than you're getting. And sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened. But you have to be willing to save yourself. You have to be willing to discover who you are when you're not trying to be who someone else needs you to be. You have to be willing to choose yourself. The chili oil was just the beginning. The real revenge was becoming someone who could never be betrayed again, not because she didn't trust, but because she trusted herself most of all. And if you're Marcus, reading this somehow, somewhere, thank you. You taught me that I could survive anything. You showed me that I was capable of more strength than I'd ever imagined. You forced me to find out what I was made of. Turns out I'm made of steel, wrapped in silk, with a core of absolute self-respect. That's quite a gift, even if you didn't mean to give it,